Good morning students. Today let us understand about the lymphatic system. Students, in my first video on transportation, I have told that there are two circulatory systems in our body, right? What are they? The first one is blood circulatory system and the second one is lymphatic system, right? So blood circulatory system, it is made up of blood vessels and heart, right? Similarly, lymphatic system is composed of lymph, it is like blood, lymph vessels, these are like blood vessels, and lymph nodes. Of course, these are not like heart, they have other role to play. We will understand this now. Okay, so where is this lymphatic system present and what is the function of it? To understand that, understand this picture. This is heart, and from left ventricle, the biggest artery of the body, which is called as aorta, arises. And this aorta, after leaving heart, it branches into several arteries. One artery is shown here. Many arteries are produced from aorta, and each artery goes into a particular organ. Let us say this is one artery of aorta going to ileum. So this is iliac tissue. These pink dots, they represent iliac tissue. Now this artery, after entering into ileum, what it becomes? It branches and form fine blood vessels called arterioles. These arterioles again break up and branch out to form very thin blood vessels called capillaries. Got it? So what happened? Aorta, after coming out of heart, branches out to form arteries. And each artery enters into a specific organ. Here it is ileum. Now entering into organ, it breaks out and branches to form arterioles. Arterioles again branch out and form very thin blood vessels called capillaries. Actually, these thin capillaries, they are diffused throughout the tissue, such that every cell in the tissue is in contact with capillaries. So capillaries ఎంతగా diffuse అయిపోయిందంటే ప్రతి సెల్ కి capillary connection వచ్చేస్తుంది అన్నమాట. Got it? Now the aorta is bringing what? Oxygenated blood. That blood enters into artery, then into arterioles, and then into capillaries. Observe the change in diameter, students. Artery, the diameter is more. Then arterioles, it is less, and in capillaries it is still less. So as the blood moves from artery to capillary, due to pressure, what happens? The plasma of the blood comes out and bathes the cells. So ఆర్టరీ నుంచి క్యాపిలరీకి వచ్చేసరికి ఇక్కడ హై ప్రెషర్ వల్ల ఏమవుతుందంటే బ్లడ్ లోపల ఉండే ప్లాస్మా అది బయటకు వచ్చేస్తుంది. సెల్స్ మొత్తము ఇప్పుడు ప్లాస్మాలో ఉన్నాయన్నమాట. గాట్ ఇట్? దిస్ ప్లాస్మా విచ్ హ్యాస్ ఎంటర్డ్ ఇంటూ సెల్స్ is what is called as tissue fluid. So it is the same plasma when enters into tissues, it is called as tissue fluid. Got it? So now cells are in tissue fluid. Now what happens? Exchange of materials take place directly. Cells are rich in carbon dioxide and waste. Tissue fluid is having oxygen and nutrients. So exchange takes place. After exchange, tissue fluid becomes rich with carbon dioxide and waste. So that tissue fluid enters into these blue color pipes. What are they called? Venules. Venules are small veins. So from small veins, that is venules, it enters into vein and comes out. So this is the vein coming out of ileum. Likewise, every part of the body gives off its vein, and all the veins, they join to form either superior vena cava or inferior vena cava and drains the blood into RA, that is our right auricle. That's what we learnt, right? Yes. Now, where is our lymphatic system here? For that, come back to the point of tissue fluid. Students, after the exchange of materials, the tissue fluid enters into venules and then into vein and then into vena cava. That's what I told, right? But actually 90% of the tissue fluid enters into venules. 10% remains back. Got it? So 10% remains back in the tissues. This fluid enters into alternating tubular channels which are present parallel to the blood capillaries. They are called as lymph capillaries. So 10% fluid enters into lymph capillaries. Got it? సో బ్లడ్ క్యాపిలరీస్కి ప్యారలల్గా ఇంకా ట్యూబులర్ ఛానల్స్ ఉంటాయి, వాటిని ఏమంటారంటే లింఫ్ క్యాపిలరీస్ అంటారు. సో ఆ 10% ఫ్లూయిడ్ లింఫ్ క్యాపిలరీస్లోకి ఎంటర్ అవుతుంది. వన్స్ ద టిష్యూ ఫ్లూయిడ్ ఎంటర్స్ ఇంటూ లింఫ్ క్యాపిలరీస్, ఇట్ ఈస్ కాల్డ్ యాజ్ lymph. Got it? So it is the same tissue fluid which is called as lymph when it enters into lymphatic capillaries. Got it? Now lymphatic capillaries, they join and form lymph vessels. These lymph vessels here and there, they contain bean shaped structures called lymph nodes. See, one lymph node is shown here. Got it? Now the lymph flows through lymph node, then into the vessel again, and then it is drained into vein, which goes to vena cava. So what is happening, students? It is collecting the 10% fluid and again draining it into the vein, which is going to vena cava. So this system of lymphatic capillaries, lymph vessel and lymph nodes is what is called as lymphatic system. Now students, what is the role of this lymphatic system? Why it should be there? Students, during circulation, if every time 10% of the fluid is lost in tissue fluids, then what happens after few circulations? The blood volume decreases. So ప్రతిసారి ఇలా సర్క్యులేషన్ అప్పుడు 10% ఫ్లూయిడ్ టిష్యూస్లో ఉండిపోతే బ్లడ్ వాల్యూమ్ అనేది పడిపోతుంది. దట్ ఈస్ అవాయిడెడ్ డ్యూ టు ది ప్రెసెన్స్ ఆఫ్ లింఫాటిక్ సిస్టమ్. గాట్ ఇట్ స్టూడెంట్స్? సో ఇట్ మెయింటైన్స్ బ్లడ్ వాల్యూమ్. నెక్స్ట్ థింగ్ is disinfection. So where this disinfection is happening? See, the lymph nodes are the points of disinfection. Lymph nodes contain lot of mini WBC. So when the blood is flowing, lymph is flowing through lymph node, what happens? These WBC, they catch the pathogens and disinfect the fluid. So lymph nodes, they disinfect and provide immunity, right? Now the third thing is transport of fatty acids. Students, fatty acids are bigger molecules. They cannot enter from the tissues into capillaries. So they enter into lymphatic capillaries. Where this happens? This takes place in intestine. Students, in digestion chapter, in nutrition chapter, I told that after digestion, the nutrients are released into blood of the villi, right? Through blood capillaries. But I told that fatty acids cannot enter into blood capillaries. Instead, they enter into lymphatic capillaries of the villi. Got it? So fatty acid, the lymphatic system helps in transport of fatty acids. So these are the functions of the lymphatic system. So I hope you understood, right? Now there is an application question on this topic. Let us see. Why does our legs swell up after a long journey in sitting posture? మనం చాలా లాంగ్ జర్నీ చేసినప్పుడు ఒకే పోస్చర్లో మన లెగ్స్ అనేటివి స్వెల్ అవుతాయి కదా. లైక్ దిస్ ఈస్ మోర్ కామన్ ఇన్ ఓల్డ్ పీపుల్. వాట్ ఈస్ ద రీజన్? ద రీజన్ ఈస్ డ్యూ టు ది అక్యూములేషన్ ఆఫ్ టిష్యూ ఫ్లూయిడ్ ఇన్ ది లెగ్స్. వై దిస్ హ్యాపన్స్? సీ, దిస్ ఈస్ ది లెగ్ నౌ. The tissue fluid, after the exchange of materials, it has to enter into venules. For that, little pressure is required. It cannot enter by itself. Little pressure from the muscle is required. As the muscle contracts and relaxes, then only the tissue fluid enters into venules. But that is not happening in our leg muscles because our legs are stationary for a long time. So what happens? This tissue fluid accumulates here itself, causing a swelling. The swelling is technically called as edema. So we observe edema in the legs after a long journey in a sitting posture. So now how to avoid this? This can be avoided by not staying in same posture for a long time. How is it possible? For that, we have to move our legs now and then, or we have to stand now and then from the sitting posture. Got it, students? I hope you understood. Thank you.